Part 56. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 551. Chapter 551 Sweet World of Two People 2. Sugar baby, don't suppress yourself. No matter what resistance you make or what you do, we will never save you. You are destined to become my wife today. Jian-Yuman smiled wildly and moved her hands neatly. Being busy, a haute couture suit was ruined and thrown to the ground. Her hands continued to be busy, pulling at his clothes quickly. After a while, all his clothes fell to the ground, turning into a pile of scraps. Tanyuj opened his hands wide and let her control her. He looked like a frightened little daughter-in-law, and the smile in his heart became even crazier. Little beauty, you'd better scream, this is how you feel. Tanyuj shook his head, his voice even crying. You are not a human being, let me go. Ha 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 ha, I don't. Jian-Yuman laughed like crazy and almost rolled off Tanyuj's face. Seeing his face turn redder, Jian-Yuman's smile grew even stronger. Deliberately taking off their clothes at a slow and irritating speed until both of them were equally naked. Little beauty, something bad is coming. Tanyuj's expression was wonderful, and Jian-Yuman also served him enthusiastically. It is said that harmony between husband and wife after marriage can warm up the relationship between husband and wife and make the relationship between husband and wife more harmonious. Tanyuj and Jian-Yuman's sincere love for this aspect is also where they are most harmonious and happy. The sky was clear and the sun was high in the sky. It was a well-hidden place. The two of them closed the door and no one knew what they were doing. Just like Jian-Yuman said, even if he screams and breaks his throat, no one will come to save him. Even the system was shut down, and no machine responded to calls for help. Poor sugar baby. He was satisfied today, and he had to cooperate with a certain woman's bad taste, so he had to show resistance and was forced to shout all the time. When he woke up, he felt that his throat was a little sore and his speech was a little hoarse. Ah, Tanyuj got up from the bed and cleared his throat. It really hurt. Put on your home clothes, deal with the broken clothes, walk out of the bedroom refreshed, and immediately smell the fragrance floating in the air. It's so fragrant, it's minced meat, eggplant, yam, and pork ribs, and scrambled eggs with leeks. Scrambled eggs with leeks is great. You can let him come back for hundreds more rounds at night. Tanyuj smelled the fragrance and found Jian-Yuman, who was busy in the kitchen. She put on a men's t-shirt and a bib specially prepared for her. Jian-Yuman, who was cutting radishes, heard someone walking and did not look back. Within a few seconds, a pair of hands hugged her waist from behind, his head rested on her shoulder, and he kissed her neck. Honey, good afternoon. Woke up? Well. Why don't you take a rest? Tanyuj hugged her and leaned behind her. His voice was lazy and charming, which made people feel itchy. This monster, why does he love to seduce people? The two little darlings are hungry and have been instigating my stomach to protest. Moreover, it is already noon and it is time for dinner. Jian-Yuman pinched a radish and stuffed it into his mouth to prevent him from opening his mouth. Trouble with her neck. Tanyuj chewed the radish quickly, with a happy smile on his face. I feel so happy to be able to eat my wife's lunch when I wake up. Of course you are happy to have an extra nanny to take care of you. Jian-Yuman burst out laughing, deliberately joking that she was the nanny taking care of him. Of course, happiness is real. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 552. Chapter 552 Sweet World of Two People 3. Of course you are happy to have an extra nanny to take care of you. Jian-Yuman burst into laughter, deliberately teasing herself. How can it be a nanny? I won't let the nanny get into my bed, and the nanny is not as beautiful and delicious as my wife. Oh, you're so horny. Jian-Yuman smiled coquettishly and pushed his arm with a smile, deliberately flirting with him just after he woke up. "Hey, wife, you specially prepared scrambled eggs with leeks for lunch today, isn't that just for that?" Tanyuj deliberately straightened his lower body and smiled a little obscenely. Roar, Jian Yuman's mouth almost burst with laughter, but she was saying bad things about him. "When you wake up, help me cook together. Don't always wait for me to cook." "Okay. Okay," Tanyuj nodded quickly, very willing to help Jian Yuman, let go of her waist, wash her hands and cook. Jian Yuman put a piece of cabbage into his hand and commanded with a smile. "Master Tang, can you do it?" Tanyuj shook his head. "I've never cooked before, neither will." "It's okay. You claim to have an amazing IQ. I'll leave this cabbage to you. I'll teach you how to make it. First tear it into small pieces, and then soak it in salt water." "It's your order." Tanyuj immediately raised his hand and grabbed the cabbage, tore it apart quickly, and in less than a while, he tore it up and threw the cabbage into the salt water to soak. When Jian Yuman turned around, she saw that her large piece of cabbage had been torn into pieces. "Sugar baby," Jian Yuman screamed, "what is this? She's going to cry her eyes out." Tanyuj pointed at the dishes, held his head up triumphantly and said with a smile, "How about it? I'm good at tearing it apart." "Hello, sister." Jian Yuman covered her face and retracted her previous words that she thought he could help her. "How can this help yourself? It would be good if it doesn't do any harm. Look at the cabbage soaked in water. Each one is torn into very small pieces. The cabbage needs to be torn into pieces as big as half a palm. But this little bastard, it is only half the size of a thumb. How can it be made into hand-shredded cabbage? It's best to make it into shredded minced pork and cabbage." "Forget it, at least I can still eat it," Jian Yuman comforted herself. Although it looked a bit ugly, at least it was still edible. "Wife, are you unhappy?" "No. I'm very happy. It's good that you can help me. I can't ask too much of you, a kitchen idiot." Jian Yuman shook her head helplessly. Tanyuj looked at Jian Yuman and his cabbage with a pitiful expression. His wife was obviously not very satisfied. It doesn't matter, he will continue to work hard and believes that he can definitely help his wife prepare today's meal. "Hey, where did my salt go?" Jian Yuman said in surprise, holding the salt box and looking at only a quarter of the salt left. Tanyuj raised his eyebrows and noticed something was wrong from Jian Yuman's facial expression. He immediately made an expression that was uglier than crying. It seemed. Jian Yuman looked back at Tanyuj, then at the cabbage soaked in the water. "Stretch out your fingers, put them into the cabbage, and then put it into your mouth." "Oh my God." Jian Yuman immediately vomited into the sink, ran to the side and poured a glass of water into his mouth. "Mr. Tang, young Master Tang, my sugar baby, how much salt did you pour in? Are you pickling vegetables? You don't even need to pour 200 grams of salt on pickles." "Oh my God." She admires Mr. Tang. It can actually be like this. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 553. Chapter 553 Sweet World for 2-4. According to the extent of Mr. Tang pouring salt, he is basically eating salt. Tanyuj's beautiful phoenix eyes were widened. He blinked his long eyelashes and pursed his thin lips. He looked at her innocently. "Honey, didn't you pour salt into the pickles?" "For it. How should I explain it to him?" Seeing his innocent look, she turned around silently, poured the hair into the water and washed it again. "I asked you to soak in salt water just to make the dishes taste more delicious when they are put into the pot. It's not to make them salty. Half a spoonful of salt is enough, and you, a cooking idiot, didn't understand the situation at all. Just pour it over. Eat salt for half a month. Oh, just eat a little and you'll be fine. Tanyuj smiled, with a crazy look on his face, and looked innocent himself. Qian Yuman wanted to give up and invest in the follow-up production by himself, but Tanyuj refused to give up his help and pestered him. Wife, let me help you, one failure is nothing, you just need to teach me a few more times, I really want to help you. Then peel the onions. Qian Yuman's eyes flashed with mischief and she stuffed 2 onions into his hand. Okay, his wife hasn't given up on him yet, so happy. It didn't take long before Tanyuj wanted to take back those words, but his wife didn't give up on what he said. Tanyuj was picking onions with tears in his eyes. His eyes were so hot that they kept blinking. They were probably smoked by the onions. Honey, do you think this is okay? Tanyuj shed tears as he raised the 2 onions in his hand to Qian Yuman. Qian Yuman had a smile in her eyes, looking at him crying with interest, and burst out laughing. Not bad. Qian Yuman took the onion from his hand, and then raised the onion in his hand to his eyes like a prank. Tanyuj was immediately stung and took several steps back. He blocked her onion bombs with his hands, but he forgot that he still had onion juice in his hands. He was hit by himself again, and his tears fell even more. Qian Yuman shouted innocently. Sugar baby, why are you crying? Are you crying while cooking? Tanyuj raised his head, saw the smile in her eyes, and immediately rushed over, raising his hand to attack her. Qian Yuman was about to run away, but Tanyuj hugged her into his arms, blinking her watery eyes that were still crying. Honey, it's all your fault. My eyes have been crying. Only your kiss can stop these tears from flowing. For it. Qian Yuman was stunned for a second, then laughed out loud, held his face with a smile, pressed her red lips to his lips, and left immediately. That's it? Not enough. Tanyuj raised the corners of his mouth, held her face again, and gave her a French kiss. The 2 of them kissed passionately in the kitchen until Qian Yuman smelled the burning smell and realized that she had forgotten to pay attention to the food she had cooked and it was burnt into black charcoal. Sugar baby, Qian Yuman pointed at the black coal in the pot and glared at him. Let's just say he is a disaster. Just say that he is a disservice in the kitchen, and now directly use examples to prove that he is a disaster. Tanyuj smiled innocently. Then I'll watch quietly from the side. What do you think? You should be able to figure it out if you look at your smart head a few more times. Qian Yuman comforted herself. Qian Yuman turned around and continued chopping vegetables, but as a result, a troubling monster was wrapped around her waist. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 554. Chapter 554. There are always light bulbs around one. Looking at the arms around her waist, Qian Yuman sighed helplessly. Sugar baby, you will delay my cooking. Go on, I won't delay you. Tanyuj refused to let go, holding her waist and burying his head in her neck. If he really just hugged her, Qian Yuman would not be helpless, but this monster buried his head in her neck and acted wantonly, making her unable to cook properly. Sugar baby, I will easily expel you from the kitchen if you do this. Then don't cook. When the rice is cooked, just eat the 3 existing dishes. I don't ask too much, just 3 dishes for 2 people. Tanyuj continued to kiss her lips, just not letting her cook well. Sugar baby, Qian Yuman sighed helplessly. She was defeated by Tanyuj and turned around to hug his neck. Forget it. Don't do it anymore, wait until the rice is cooked. Anyway, there were already 3 dishes, which was enough for her to eat. The sunshine is infinitely good, which is a good time to do bad things. The couple started kissing each other again, but except for the rice that was still cooking, all other equipment had been turned off. They felt each other passionately and felt at ease. While the 2 were kissing each other somewhat forgetfully, Someone came to their new home. Welcome, Mr. Yingj. The sound of the system being reactivated sounded at the door and reached the ears of the two people kissing in the kitchen. Qian Yuman pushed Tang Yuj away, looked at the door, pointed at the door and asked with a smile. Yingj is here. You shouldn't. Tang Yuj took Qian Yuman off the table, placed her gently on the ground, put his arms around her waist and walked out. Before she could go out, a voice rang out. Xiao Qian, Lao Niu Mao, come out quickly, I came to see you playing with birds. Ying's clear voice sounded at the door, and he ran in with a small fish tank in his hand and a bright smile. The innocent and cute big eyes scanned everywhere, looking for Qian Yuman. Qian Yuman and Tang Yuj walked out of the kitchen and saw Xian Ying's cute face appearing at the door. Tang Yuj exploded instantly. You bastard, when did you come in? Tang Yuj looked at Xian Yingj and almost couldn't close his mouth. Unless they let them in, only Qian Yuman and Tang Yuj could enter this villa with their faces. Why could Xian Yingj come in privately without their consent? Why would the system even greet him? He didn't. I remember that he had been here before, and his facial features and name were recorded by the system. Xian Yingj smiled brightly. 1 minute ago. I'm asking you, how did you get in? This system is very powerful. He had tried it before, but why didn't it work on Xian Yingj? No, this is a system that Chang Junyi is proud of. Xian Yingj pointed at his face and said innocently. Because I'm handsome. Tang Yuj instantly rolled his eyes, grabbed his slippers and threw them at him. Is this what I'm asking? Give me an honest answer and don't act stupid in front of me. You know what I'm talking about. Yingj, how did you get in? Qian Yuman walked up to Xian Yingj and looked at the fish tank in his hand curiously. He held the fish tank in his arms. Why did he come to her house? And he opened the door to pick it up. He. In fact, not long ago, I asked Mr. Chang to help register my information. He. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 555. Chapter 555. There are always light bulbs around too. Hey. In fact, not long ago, I asked Mr. Chang to register my information. Hey, so I can swipe my face to come in and come in directly. I will not be blocked by his high-tech system, so I follow up. Just like your own home. What? Tang Yuj's voice suddenly became weird, and he raised his head and asked the system. System, how many people can enter the house freely? Back to Mr. Tang, there are 3 of you, Tang Yuj, Qian Yuman, and Xian Yingj, who can enter the house at will. The system's voice sounded again, this time directly reporting the list of people who can enter and exit at will. Tang Yuj was speechless. Ziajun. You are inviting a wolf into my house? He actually allowed Xian Yingj to come and go freely and play with him. He didn't even say hello before. It's too abominable. Next time I see him, I have to say a lot of bad things in Fei Fanfan's ears. In the distant imperial capital, Chang Junyi felt a chill on his back, and then sneezed loudly. Strange, could it be that Fanfan misses me? Delete the free access rights of Xian Yingj. Sorry, you are not allowed to delete it without permission. It needs to be deleted by the system developer himself. Tang Yuj is almost spitting out his blood, but he can't delete it. This is a broken system. Are you trying to play with him? What's the bug in this system? It was Ziajun's intention that he could not delete Xian Ying's permission to enter and exit freely. Qian Yuman smiled and looked at Tang Yuj, who was vomiting blood in annoyance, and winked mischievously at Xian Yingj. Xiao Qian, this is a housewarming gift for you. Xian Yingj thrust the fish tank in Qian Yuman's hand. There are fake aquatic plants, stones, and water in the water tank, but there are no small fish swimming in it. Tang Yuj came over, took the fish tank from Qian Yuman's hand, and stuffed it into his hand. Our family doesn't need it. There are a lot of fish in the big lake behind us, and you can also fish. And Tanyuj said, pointing to a super large fish tank not far away with many tropical fish swimming there. I already have such a big fish tank at home, do I still need something as small as yours? What are you doing? Yingj gave this to me, I like it. Jian Yuman snatched it back from Tanyuj. Tanyuj rolled his eyes again and stared at the fish tank in Jian Yuman's hand. What's in here? Just water and a few stones. No one gave me a fish tank. Shrimp, look, how cute it is. What? You said I'm blind. Tanyuj's head started to smoke. He glared at Xian Yingj angrily and kicked him with his foot. How dare you call me blind? Get out of my house immediately. Old Niu Mao, it's really a shrimp, I'm going to drive you away. Xian Yingj waved his arms and refused to leave. He had to stay. Jian Yuman blinked and looked down at the fish tank. What was in it? Judging from Ying's appearance, there is something really valuable inside. She put her head into the fish tank to take a look, and finally found a creature in the fish tank. It turned out to be a group of small shrimps. Because they were white and somewhat transparent in the water, you could see the small shrimps swimming around in the water carefully. White, small, and looks so cute. Yingj, I like it very much. Thank you for the gift. Jian Yuman thanked you sweetly. Xian Yingj chuckled and shook his head at Tanyuj with some pride. You see, Xiao Qian likes the shrimp I sent you. Tanyuj looked at the two of them speechlessly, wondering what was so cute about the fish tank. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 556. Chapter 556. There are always light bulbs around 3. Wife. Mr. Tang, it's really a shrimp. See for yourself. I'm not blind. I know you are not blind. This is a shrimp, not that you are blind. Jian Yuman corrected him. You still say that I'm not blind. There is nothing here. Is there any creature in there that you can see but I can't? Are you joining forces to tease me? Tanyuj felt abandoned. Why did his wife and others the men gathered together and called him blind? Jian Yuman and Xian Yingj looked at each other and burst into laughter. They both realized that Tanyuj had misunderstood something. They were laughing so hard that they could hardly stand up. Xian Yingj rolled on the ground in an exaggerated manner, holding his stomach and body. Twitching. What a joke, what a joke, Xian Yingj laughed and wiped the floor for Jian Yuman and the others. The area where he rolled over became even brighter. Jian Yuman raised the fish tank in front of Tanyuj, with a smile that couldn't be closed. Mr. Tang, take a closer look. There are shrimps inside. Xia shrimps are crustacean arthropods. They are called shrimp in English. The Chinese character for worm is preceded by xia, xia, and xia. It is an edible aquatic product. Huh, Tanyuj lowered his head and looked carefully, and sure enough he saw a lot of little shrimps swimming quickly in the water. I suddenly felt embarrassed. It turns out that one person is not blind to the other, and he misunderstood. You brat, what did you keep calling me, old Niu Mao, what is that? Tanyuj coughed awkwardly and directly found other topics to divert his attention. Lao Nia Mao? That's Lao Nia Mao? Lao Man Lao, that kind of soul that is a bit old. Xian Yingj used his non-standard Chinese to try hard to express what he meant by Lao Nia Mao. Og, Tanyuj guessed. Opposite Xian Yingj nodded heavily. Tanyuj laughed directly. Come on, brat, read it again after me. You rogue, rogue. Old gadfly. You rascal, hooligan. Old gangster. Correct. Lao Niu Mao, Tanyuj is Lao Niu Mao. You brat, you're playing tricks on me. You actually called me old gangster so many times. I won't beat you to death. Tanyuj grabbed the slipper of his other foot and quickly chased after Xian Yingj. Emma. The old Niafeo is so powerful and angry that he wants to kill Yin. Master Yingj, do you need to activate the alarm program? At this time, the house system also joined in the fun. Ah! Need, Xian Ying shouted as he ran away. He was going to be murdered. If he died, there would be one less handsome guy in the world. It would be a great tragedy in the world. Without him, how much less joy the world has. Okay, automatically start the alarm service, the house system responded. Don't call the police, Tanyuj yelled at the system. Why are you calling the police? Are you here to arrest the owner of the house? Even if the police were called, they would catch Xian Yingj who broke into the house privately, but it was impossible to catch the person who called the police. Okay, Mr. Tang. Call the police. I need to call the police and arrest this old cow, Xian Yingj screamed at the top of his lungs. Just now, he dangerously escaped the attack of Tanyuj's slippers and was almost hit. He would have died if hit. Start up. Don't call the police. The system enters a dormant state. The system sleeps very consciously, and it does not get involved in human disputes. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 557. Chapter 557 Reasons Why Tanyuj Doesn't Love Her. 1. Qianyi looked at the two people running after each other in the room. After only 10 minutes, the room became a mess. They were like an adult chasing a teenager running around. The scene was a bit funny. Hey, I feel like I'm taking care of two children, both of whom are obviously older than me. Qian Yuman felt very tired, so she might as well eat the last dish. When Qian Yuman finished cooking, she saw Xian Yingj being held down by Tanyuj and whipping Xian Yingj with his slippers. And the immortal Yingj kept screaming, barking, and barking like a killing pig. Bad Silver, it hurt so much. You step scene for me. Are you still causing trouble in my house? You can't beat me, but you still dare to be arrogant in front of me. Tanyuj transformed into the devil Satan and crazily punished the stinky Xian Yingj. Woo woo woo. Qian Yuman looked up, her breathing suddenly became heavy, and she couldn't help but swallow her saliva. At this moment, in Qian Yuman's eyes, Tanyuj was straddling Xian Yingj, holding the slippers of love in his hand, and beating him gently. The immortal Yingj is pitiful, and his tearful appearance is very cute and pitiful. Around them, there were countless pink love bubbles floating, and there was even lyrical music playing in the background. Awesome, awesome. Qian Yuman immediately took out her phone and took several pictures of them. The picture was so loving that her heart beat faster. She seems a little unnecessary. Do you want to leave? Don't let it flow down and disturb them. Tanyuj heard Qian Yuman's voice and looked back. He saw Qian Yuman looking at them with a crazy expression on his face. He clenched his hands on his chest and almost drooled looking at them. He looked down at himself and Xian Yingj and saw their postures. Guessing what was going on in her mind, she immediately shouted angrily. Honey, what are you thinking? Get rid of the evil thoughts in your mind. Husband, I finally understand. Why do you say you can't give me love anymore? It turns out you. Qian Yuman covered her chest, her voice was trembling, and she was a little excited. Oh. So loving. If he really loves a man, she is willing to make things happen for him and Yingj. Showing affection in front of her every day is also extremely beautiful. Tanyuj trembled with goosebumps all over his body, immediately jumped off Xian Yingj, pointed at Xian Yingj and said, Honey, don't think nonsense, I have absolutely nothing to do with him. Qian Yuman nodded. I understand everything. Today's society still cannot fully tolerate same-sex love, I understand. 3 black lines ran down the back of Tang Yu's head, and he was completely conquered by Qian Yuman's imagination. How could I like this brat? What are you thinking about? Tang Yuj ran to Qian Yuman and wanted to shake his head to see if he could hear the sound of the waves and see if seawater was in his head. The bullied Xian Yingzhi, whose hair was messy and his clothes were untidy, with tears in his eyes, blinked his big innocent eyes. What's wrong? He looked like an abandoned poor creature, very lovable. Ah! I understand. Is it possible that the one you love most in your heart is Tian Yu? No wonder, I have already guessed that you two are having an affair. Is it possible that you are in a love triangle? Qian Yuman looked at Tang Yuj with sympathy, as if she understood everything and loved him. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 558. Chapter 558 Reasons why Tang Yuj doesn't love her too. Tang Yuj almost lost his balance and fell to the ground. He was completely convinced by Qian Yuman's ideas. Honey, I'm a straight man. I only like women. I'm not interested in men. Tang Yuj held Qian Yuman's head and shook it, trying to shake away the dirty thoughts from her mind. No need to explain, I understand everything and I can accept it. Qian Yuman turned her head and stuck out her tongue playfully. Seeing Tang Yuj's confused and helpless look, she found it interesting. It's so fun to tease them. Who made them look so loving when they were fighting just now? Her blood began to boil. She didn't mind the sadomasochism between her husband and Xian Yingzhi. Xian Yingzhi didn't understand what they were saying at all. He had already consciously sat down at the dining table and started eating. The food was very delicious. By the time Tang Yuj noticed it, he had already taken several bites. Xian Yingzhi, do you understand the rules? This is my home, how can you eat the food my wife cooked for me? Stingy Xian Yingzhi said in disgust, lowering his head and continuing to eat. Xiaoqian's craftsmanship is good, and the food he makes is always so delicious. Tang Yuj's machine gun instantly started firing at Xian Yingzhi, and Xian Yingzhi also started to fight back. The two of them had to fight every meal. Qian Yuman just knocked with one chopstick. Eat well, don't talk, spit on the whole table. Finally, the war between the two men ended, and they ate peacefully, fearing that they would be kicked out if the quarrel continued. Xian Yingzhi went back after eating. It was a good thing that he didn't stay there all the time, otherwise Tang Yuj would really use a cannon to blast him away. Tang Yuj was very helpless towards Xian Yingzhi. He could not be driven away or driven away. He and Qian Yuman had a very good relationship. They were like biological siblings. In Qian Yuman's words, they were like male best friends and little brothers. However, they still had a good relationship. Very shameless. Qian Yuman and Tang Yuj stayed in their new home for one night and returned to the Tang family's old house the next morning. When you return to the old house of the Tang family, you will inevitably be dragged by Grandma Tang to take supplements. In the past few days, she has been serving the Tang family like a sow waiting to give birth. Eat. Besides eating, just eat. All the supplements were stuffed into her stomach. This is Grandma Tang's kind intention, and Qian Yuman will naturally not refuse. She comes and eats as much as she wants, which makes her run to the toilet much more frequently. Qian Yuman was enjoying herself in the kitchen, eating a casserole of old hen that had been cooked for 5 or 6 hours. Dad Tang walked in from outside with a bunch of information in his hand. When he entered the house, he immediately saw Qian Yuman eating an old hen. The majestic eyes condensed slightly, and the expression on his face became a little complicated. Qian Yuman felt the burning gaze, raised her head and looked over strangely, and saw Tang's father standing not far away, looking at her. Dad, you're back, do you want some chicken soup made by Grandma? Qian Yuman just asked casually. Although she knew that Tang's father would definitely refuse, she still asked. As expected, Father Tang refused, simply said no and left. Qian Yuman pouted and continued to eat without interest. She felt that the Father Tang she met today was more serious and seemed to be getting harder to get along with. Getting along with the Tang family was really troublesome. On the surface, Lu Rong was okay and polite to her, but it made her uncomfortable, especially when it was Lu Rong who used the information to reveal that she and Qi Lili had deceived them. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 559. Chapter 559 The continuation of Bloodline. Tang Wentao returned to his study room with a stack of materials, closed the door, sat on the sofa and looked at the materials in his hand. He was a little afraid to take it out, because the stack of information in his hand contained investigation information about Qian Yuman and Qi Lili, as well as Qian Xiener's life information in the past few years. The information was very detailed and took 2 whole days to investigate. Since Qian Xiener has been in S City for the past 10 years, it was very convenient to investigate. Xiener Tang Wentao looked at the information and read her name. Finally, I took out the file and saw a bunch of photos in the file, all of which were photos of Qian Xiener's life, some from recent years, some from more than 10 years ago, and even wedding photos with Qi Zhan. When he saw the wedding photos, his heart throbbed violently. They were so annoying that he threw them into the trash can. Out of sight, out of mind. I looked at her other photos again. Although Qian Xiener in the photos is over 40, her skin is still well maintained. She has a different charm from back then, so charming and confident, very similar to when we first met her. You are always so beautiful, Tang Wentao murmured to himself, and finally mustered up the courage to pick up the information and look at the current situation of Qian Xiener and Qian Xiener's daughters. After reading all the information quickly, he felt melancholy and dropped the information in his hand, holding in his hand the photo that Grandma Tang had given him the day before yesterday. They looked so close and friendly in the photo, but now they have changed. You stupid woman, you are still so stupid and proud after all these years, she said helplessly to the photo in her hand. Those documents clearly stated the reasons why Qian Xiener and Kizan divorced, and what kind of life they lived after the divorce. After reading this information, I feel distressed and sad. You deserve it, you deserve it. If you didn't choose me in the first place and left me to marry such an ordinary boy, what should I say to you? In the eyes of Tang's father, Qi Zhan was a poor boy at the beginning. He relied on his own ability to work hard to start a business, and now he has achieved little success, but his financial resources are still less than 1% of his. Obviously, she is so outstanding and deserves better, but she chooses to live an ordinary life, and still ends up getting divorced. The information naturally introduces Qian Yuman and Qi Lili's living conditions in recent years in detail. Tang Yuj and Qian Yuman quickly met and got married quickly, and Qi Lili and Tang Feishan decided to get married after falling in love for a few months. These information are all very detailed. Clear. After reading this information, the stone that had been weighing on his chest for the past few days was relieved, but it also made him feel sad. If Qian Xiener really let her daughter get close to his son on purpose, it means at least that in the past few years, she still misses him, hates him, and still has his position in her heart. What also made him feel relieved was that Qian Yuman and Qi Lili had simple intentions and did not have these evil thoughts in his mind. He was relieved that they did not approach his sons with any purpose. Going round and round, in the end their bloodline was passed down, still in this way. He felt even more melancholy, especially when he saw the separate information. Xiener, how could you leave me for 2 months and then choose to be with other men, and you're still in S City, near me? He tried so hard to find her back then, but in the end, she was not even close to him and had not gone far. This was really ironic. Unexpectedly, it has been more than 20 years since we parted ways, and I don't know how long it will be before we meet again. Update at 5 o'clock next time. I swear, I will never delay the update until 11 p.m. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 560. Chapter 560 Lurong's Abortion Plan 1. At this moment, Lurong held a brush in her hand and a small bowl in her right hand. She looked around to make sure no one was there. She bent over the stairs and applied a layer of oil with the brush. She moved quickly and checked to see if anyone else was around. All around. Make sure that no one saw what you were doing. You immediately ran to the sink in the room, poured out the remaining oil, cleaned the brush and threw it into the trash can outside. The floor painted by Lurong is a place that Jian Yuman will definitely pass when she returns to her room every day. LV Rong confirmed how slippery the oil stain was, nodded with satisfaction and left. Jian Yuman finished eating the chicken soup and was about to go back to her room to rest. Tang Yuj ran out. She was bored at home alone. She also wanted to go out to play, but unfortunately Grandma Tang ordered her to take good care of her baby at home and could not go out to play. Jian Yuman, who lost her freedom, was bored and looking for something to do at home. At this moment, only Grandma Tang and Lurong are in the Tang family. As the female dependents, they are basically at home. Jian Yuman is also forced to stay at home all day after becoming pregnant. It's so boring. I haven't watched any good TV series recently. I'd better go to the study and read. Jian Yuman swung her arms and walked towards the stairs, stopping halfway. It's so boring, so I'd better do it. Other things. By the way, swimming. Jian Yuman high-fived and praised her intelligence. The textbook for pregnant women said that proper aerobic exercise for pregnant women is good for both the body and the baby. Then go back to the room. Jian Yuman turned around and walked towards the bedroom, stopping halfway up the stairs. It's so hot today, so we'd better go in the evening. The Tang family's swimming pool is outdoors, and the afternoon sun is too hot. If she goes for a swim, she will definitely get a tan. Jian Yuman turned towards the direction of the study. The direction of the study and the bedroom happened to be in opposite directions, so she stepped in the direction of the study. By chance, she avoided the oil stains Lurong put on the floor. If Jian Yuman went back to the room, she would step on the oil stains on the left. The study is on the right side of the stairs, so she would step on the oil stains on the right. Nearly everyone in the Tang family has his or her own study room, and Jian Yuman occupies Tang Yu's study room. Tang Yu's study room has the most books in the Tang family. Most of the various books are his daily reading materials, and there are also some collections. Jian Yuman, who likes reading, looked at the books on the wall and was dazzled for a moment. There was also a pile of psychological books on the wall. Jian Yuman took a few glances at them and felt sleepy. How did Mr. Tang understand it? It's so profound, a bunch of terms that I don't understand. Jian Yuman held a doctoral-level psychology book in her hand, and she felt dizzy after reading it for a few times. As the saying goes, every other line is like a mountain, which is the difference between them. Finally, Jian Yuman found an emotional novel and started reading it. As she was flipping through it, a bookmark suddenly fell out. Jian Yuman bent over and picked up the bookmark, looking at it curiously. There were 4 words written on the bookmark. Growing Old Together? Written by Tang Yuj. Jian Yuman looked at the bookmark and felt confused. He looked down at the book he had just read. This was a love novel. This book mainly talks about a pair of love affairs that are opposed by the world. It is told from the perspective of the heroine. She has only read half of it and has not finished it, so she doesn't know what the ending will be. However, The heroine in the book finally I hope to grow old together with the male protagonist. Doesn't Mr. Tang not believe in love? End of this chapter.